Fever, and then I have my own personal one as well. So, I mean, I think the mental preparation of the game is far more important, obviously, than the physical, especially when you're trying to compete on this level with, obviously the spotlight, the attention. It's game to game to game. You got to be able to turn the page. But
the atmosphere inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse is completely suffocating in the best way possible. Tonight is not just another basketball game. Tonight is the season opener of the 2026 WNBA season, and it features the most highly anticipated matchup in the history of the sport. The Indiana Fever are hosting the Dallas Wings. Caitlin Clark is facing off against Paige Bueckers. The narrative surrounding this game is incredibly thick, layered with history, rivalry, and a burning desire for redemption. When you look at the trajectory of Caitlin Clark over the last 3 years, it reads like a Hollywood script. She came into the league in 2024 carrying the weight of the entire world on her shoulders. She broke every television rating record, she packed every arena, and she forced the global sports media to pay attention to women's basketball in a way that had never been done before. But then came the 2025 season. Expectations were through the roof. Fans were anticipating a seamless leap into MVP contention, a deeper playoff run, and a cementing of her legacy. Instead, reality hit hard. Injuries are the cruelest part of professional sports, and they do not care about your star power. Clark suffered a devastating groin injury, followed by a quad issue that limited her sophomore campaign to just 13 games. She was forced to sit on the bench and watch as the league moved forward without her. It was a humbling and agonizing experience for a competitor who had never missed a game during her 4 legendary years at the University of Iowa. While she was recovering in the shadows, the landscape of the WNBA began to shift. The media cycle demands a star, and with Clark sidelined, the spotlight naturally pivoted. It pivoted directly to Paige Bueckers. Bueckers, who was selected as the #1 overall pick by the Dallas Wings in the 2025 WNBA draft, stepped into the professional ranks and delivered an absolute masterclass of a rookie season. She was efficient, she was dynamic, and she led her team with a quiet, lethal confidence. She ranked in the top 10 in points, assists, and steals, earning a near-unanimous Rookie of the Year award. Bueckers played the game with a traditional purity that basketball purists adore. Her mid-range game is flawless, her defensive instincts are elite, and she rarely makes a mistake. This created the perfect contrast to Clark's explosive, high-risk, high-reward style of play that relies on deep logo threes and thread-the-needle transition passes. The contrast in their styles has birthed a rivalry that is drawing comparisons to Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. The WNBA recognized the gold mine they had on their hands, which is exactly why they scheduled the Fever and the Wings for the opening night of the 2026 season. They want the world to watch these two generational talents collide, but the stakes were raised to an entirely new level just days ago when the league released its annual general manager survey. The results sent shockwaves through the basketball community. Last year, GMs overwhelmingly chose Clark as the player they would build a franchise around. This year, they abandoned her. 33% selected Bueckers, while Clark plummeted to 20%, tying with A'ja Wilson. Furthermore, ESPN released their top 50 player rankings, placing Bueckers at number 8 and Clark at number 10. For an athlete as fiercely competitive as Caitlin Clark, this is not just bulletin board material, it is a declaration of war. The disrespect, whether perceived or actual, is the ultimate fuel for a superstar. Throughout her career, Clark has always thrived when she has something to prove. In college, she used the doubt of national pundits to fuel her historic tournament runs. Now, entering her 3rd year in the WNBA, she is using the GM survey and the player rankings as the ultimate motivation. She recently stated in an interview that the 2025 injury gave her a renewed perspective. It forced her to slow down, analyze the game from the sideline, and understand the grueling physical demands of a professional schedule. She realized that talent alone is not enough to survive the physicality of the WNBA. You need armor. Over the off-season, Clark practically lived in the weight room. She focused intensely on core stability, lower body strength, and injury prevention mechanics. Reports out of the Fever training camp suggest that she is in the absolute best shape of her life. She is moving faster laterally, she is absorbing contact in the paint without losing her balance, and her shot release is quicker than ever. This physical transformation is terrifying news for the rest of the league. If she can combine her unparalleled court vision and shooting range with a durable, athletic frame, she will be virtually unstoppable. The mental aspect of her recovery cannot be overstated either. Dealing with the pressure of being the face of a league is an isolating experience. When the media is analyzing your every move, your every facial expression, and your every missed shot, it takes a massive toll on a player's psyche. During her difficult rehab process, Clark found support from an incredibly high-profile source who understands that exact level of pressure.
And I think for her, the one thing that I love that she's bringing to her sport, more people want to watch. More people want to tune in. I saw for the first time that they had a chartered plane for the first time in their league history. They flew private. That should be celebrated in its own right. From anyone that's, in sports that's flown commercial or flown, charter, that should be celebrated. And it's because of Caitlin Clark. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it fucked up. Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the WNBA.
Having LeBron James openly advocate for you and validate the unique pressure you face is a massive confidence booster. LeBron's advice about blocking out the noise, trusting the process, and playing the long game clearly resonated with Clark. She is approaching the 2026 season with a level of maturity and singular focus that we have not seen before. She is no longer just the rookie sensation trying to prove she belongs. She is the established superstar trying to reclaim her throne. The Indiana Fever organization has also done their part to ensure that Clark is positioned for maximum success this year. General Manager Lynn Dunn and head coach Stephanie White have spent the last several months retooling the roster to better complement Clark's skill set. The days of relying on Clark to do absolutely everything on the offensive end are over. The Fever have brought in versatile, athletic wings who can run the floor in transition and knock down open shots when opposing defenses inevitably double-team Clark. The tactical adjustments coming into tonight's game against Dallas are going to be fascinating to watch. In previous seasons, the offensive scheme was incredibly predictable. Give the ball to Caitlin and let her create magic. While that resulted in spectacular highlight reels, it also resulted in an incredibly high usage rate and a massive physical toll on her body. Coach White has explicitly stated that the 2026 Fever offense will feature a lot more movement off the ball. We are going to see Clark utilized in actions where she is running off multiple staggered screens, catching and shooting before the defense can even rotate. By taking the ball out of her hands for stretches of the game, the Fever will force defenses to stay honest and prevent them from throwing aggressive traps at her the moment she crosses half court. This strategic shift will also preserve her energy for the fourth quarter, allowing her to operate as a closer when the game is on the line. Dallas, however, is not going to just roll over and let Clark dictate the tempo. The Wings have a formidable defense, anchored by athletic forwards who can switch on the perimeter and disrupt passing lanes. Their head coach has undoubtedly spent the entire week game-planning ways to make Clark uncomfortable. The matchup between Clark and Bueckers on the perimeter is the marquee attraction. When Paige has the ball, she is incredibly methodical. She reads the defense with the precision of a chess grandmaster, probing for weaknesses and exploiting the slightest opening. She does not force action. She lets the game come to her. Caitlin, conversely, imposes her will on the game. She plays with a relentless urgency, launching shots from 30 feet to stretch the defense to its absolute breaking point. When these two share the court, it is a masterclass in contrasting philosophies. The Dallas Wings want this game to be a slow, grinding, half-court battle where execution and efficiency determine the winner. The Indiana Fever want this game to be a track meet, a high-octane shootout where chaos and momentum swing the pendulum. The team that successfully dictates the pace will walk away with the victory. The broader context of this game extends far beyond the final score. The WNBA is currently experiencing a period of unprecedented financial and cultural growth. Television ratings are shattering historical markers, merchandise sales are booming, and franchise valuations are skyrocketing. This economic boom is directly tied to the rivalries and storylines generated by players like Clark and Bueckers. The league needs this rivalry to be fierce, competitive, and compelling. They need the fans to be emotionally invested in the outcome. As the fans pour into Gainbridge Fieldhouse tonight, you can feel that emotional investment pulsating through the building. The stands are a sea of blue and gold, speckled with the neon green of Dallas supporters who made the trip. The media row is packed end-to-end with national broadcasters, sports journalists, and digital content creators who are all here to document the return of the Queen. For Caitlin Clark, tonight is about answering the critics who wrote her off after a single injury-plagued season. It is about proving to the general managers that they made a colossal mistake by doubting her franchise value. It is about looking at the ESPN rankings and demonstrating that she is not the 10th best player in the world, but the single most dominant offensive force this sport has ever witnessed. When the referee tosses the ball into the air for the opening tip, all the off-season noise, all the survey results, and all the podcast debates will instantly evaporate. The game will be decided on the hardwood. Clark will have to navigate a grueling 40 minutes of physical defense, complex schemes, and the immense pressure of living up to the impossible standard she set for herself. As the game unfolds, pay close attention to her body language. In the past, frustration would sometimes creep in when shots were not falling or when referees missed a call. This year, if the reports of her mental growth are accurate, we should see a much more stoic and resilient leader. If Dallas comes out and hits her with a hard foul early in the first quarter, how will she respond? Will she complain to the officials, or will she immediately run down the court and pull up from the logo to send a message? That response will tell us everything we need to know about the 2026 version of Caitlin Clark. The development of her chemistry with her teammates will also be a critical factor. The Fever cannot win a championship if it is just a one-woman show. Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, and the rest of the supporting cast must step up and execute their roles flawlessly. If Boston can establish a dominant post presence, it will force the Dallas defense to collapse into the paint, leaving Clark wide open on the perimeter. It is a symbiotic relationship that requires perfect timing and absolute trust. The narrative arc of a comeback season is one of the most compelling stories in all of sports. We love to build our heroes up, watch them fall, and then cheer for them as they attempt to climb back to the mountaintop. Caitlin Clark is currently in the middle of that climb. The injury in 2025 was the fall. The grueling off-season rehab was the preparation, and tonight is the first step back onto the summit. The Paige Bueckers rivalry provides the perfect antagonist for this story. Bueckers is phenomenal, beloved by her peers, and currently holding the title that Clark believes belongs to her. It is the perfect storm of competition. As the final minutes approach, the intensity in the arena will undoubtedly reach a boiling point. The physical toll of the game will begin to show on the players, and execution will become paramount. This is where superstars cement their legacies. If the game is tied with under a minute left, everyone in the building, including the Dallas defense, knows who is taking the final shot for Indiana. But knowing what is coming and stopping what is coming are two entirely different things. Clark possesses a release so quick and a range so deep that defending her requires sheer luck as much as skill. The 2026 season is going to be a marathon of a schedule filled with back-to-backs, cross-country flights, and relentless media scrutiny. But tonight is a sprint. Tonight is about making a statement that will echo throughout the entire league. It is a declaration that the injury is fully healed, the motivation is at an all-time high, and the WNBA still runs through Indianapolis. The general managers made their choice, and the analysts made their lists. Now it is time for the players to play. The beauty of basketball is that the ball never lies. You can debate rankings on television all day long, but when the clock starts, the only thing that matters is putting the ball through the hoop. Caitlin Clark has dedicated her entire life to mastering that singular task. She has revolutionized the geometry of the court, forcing defenses to guard her the moment she steps out of the locker room. She has inspired a generation of young girls to practice shooting from behind the three-point line. She has fundamentally changed the business of women's sports. And yet, despite all of those monumental achievements, she steps onto the court tonight with a massive chip on her shoulder. That is what makes her so incredibly dangerous. The Dallas Wings are prepared for battle. Paige Bueckers is ready to prove that she is the true face of the league. The stage is perfectly set, the lights are blindingly bright, and the entire basketball world is watching. As the starting lineups are introduced, the roar from the Indianapolis crowd is absolutely deafening. It is a visceral release of a year's worth of frustration, anticipation, and unwavering loyalty. They are welcoming their hero back home. Clark high-fives her teammates, her face a mask of pure, unadulterated concentration. She walks over to the center circle, bends her knees, and looks directly at her opponent. The talking is finally over. The articles have been written. The surveys have been tallied. It is time for action. It is time for the greatest show in sports to begin its next act. Welcome to the 2026 WNBA season. Welcome to the Revenge Tour. Welcome back, Caitlin Clark. The throne is waiting, but you are going to have to fight for every single inch to take it back. The ball goes up, the clock starts ticking, and history is officially in the making. Let the games begin.